Welcome to Mushroom Wonderland.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Aaron Hilliard for Mushroom Wonderland, and I thought I would come on here with just like kind of a short video addressing a question that I keep getting asked, not only by fans in the comments, but by friends and family, because it is spring and a lot of people love morel mushrooms. And so the question I keep getting asked is, where can I go right now and find some morel mushrooms growing? And this is a really, really tricky question. It is Mother's Day weekend right now, which in Western Washington and Eastern Washington is kind of the height of morel season. So morels kind of have a short season. It's when the soils get just warm enough, the moisture has to be just right, and then they will grow for a couple of weeks, maybe a month under normal circumstances, and then they just sort of disappear. And so it's kind of hard to accurately predict where you're going to find morels, and that is sort of based on what region you're in and what species of morels grow in that region. And so here in the Pacific Northwest in Western Washington, we have several species of morels that grow here. Some of them are naturals. We call them naturals because they grow with the trees around here. They're ectomycorrhizal. Most of those ones grow in riparian areas, so areas where cottonwood grows next to rivers, in sandy areas. That's good places to go look for morels during this window of time, which really doesn't abide by human calendars. It really has to do with temperature and moisture. So it could be this weekend, it could have been 2 weekends ago, and it might be a couple weekends from now. Another type of like natural morel that we have in the area is the landscape morel. So these grow in kind of urban habitats, in human disturbed areas. That's where our landscape morel, Morchella importuna, normally grows. Wood chips and mulch, compost piles, and these are really hard to predict where they're going to come up, because typically mycorrhizal mushrooms are easier to find because you can just find their trees and the forests that they grow in, and then you can go back there year to year and find those mushrooms growing. But these landscape morels are far less predictable. And here on the west side of the Cascade Mountains, finding a reliable morel patch is going to require riparian area, which here on the west side of the Puget Sound, we just don't have a lot of that kind of habitat. We don't have a lot of cottonwood here on the Kitsap Peninsula. But if you go east, on the east side of the Puget Sound area, there are rivers with riparian areas and a lot of cottonwood habitat. So that is probably your most reliably predictable area to find natural morels in Western Washington, Oregon, Northern California, British Columbia. These kind of riparian zones with cottonwood trees is going to be your best bet. So go out into those areas. But if you don't have those within an hour drive of you, it can be kind of a real pain. Out in a forest like the one that I'm sitting in a conifer dominated forest, we do have a species of morel that grow out of here, kind of like right where you would find chanterelles and lobster mushrooms growing. And that one, Morchella norvegiensis, typically only fruit in small numbers. Their window of opportunity is low, and they're pretty rare and hard to find. You can walk for years and never see any. Sometimes you'll find a small group of them, and they come back in those same spots pretty much every year. But like I'm saying, you only get a handful of fruiting bodies. So like maybe a dinner for two once a year, you know what I mean? So not really somewhere you can direct people to go find those. You could just point at a conifer forest with mossy forest floor like this and just say, go for a walk and good luck, and that's really kind of the best luck you're going to have in this kind of a forest. Finding those kind of morels are kind of hard to predict with any consistency. And another really kind of consistent and predictable kind of morel are the kind that they commercially harvest every year, and that's going to be in the forest fires. And that's where you're going to find the best chance for finding a lot of good morels. But again, has to do with soil temperature, has to do with air temperature, has to do with moisture levels and humidity. And when it's dry and crunchy out, morels just aren't really going to be growing. This time of year also, there's another conifer morel that likes to grow on the east side of the Cascades, Morchella snyderi. And this is one that I can go look for pretty pretty consistently. But when friends and family ask me, where can I go find morels? It's hard to, point them 2 hours east of the mountains to go looking for mushrooms. Most people, unless they're real mycophiles, don't want to go that far to look for morels. So now there's Mortella americana and blonde morels, which grow, basically south of Washington and east of the Cascades and all across the Midwest and even to the eastern seaboard. And those associate with a variety of different hardwood trees. So if you're anywhere besides the Pacific Northwest, those would probably be your best bet if you're in the lower 48. And these are a beautiful, delicious morel. And when you see pictures of people with huge amounts of blonde colored morels, it's typically Mortella americana. So, this channel is going national. In fact, I have fans that are on the other side of the world, but a lot of my fan base exists here in the Pacific Northwest. And so if you're like, where can I go find morels today? Good luck, you know what I mean? I would say in Western Washington or Oregon, British Columbia, pretty much anywhere west of the Cascade Range, your riparian habitat is going to be your best bet. Also, those landscape morels in mulch can be somewhat predictable, but the mulch has to be a certain age, and again, you got moisture and you've got temperature. So it has been really warm, it has been really dry, and it's hard to find morels. I have a foray, one of my Mushroom Wonderland foray / workshops coming up, and somebody expressed a little bit of disappointment that we aren't necessarily going to be finding morels. There's no guarantee to find any mushrooms on these forays, but they really thought that we might go morel hunting. And here on the west side, unless I'm like, hop in the car, let's go for a 2-hour drive to the east side of the mountains, they are just really hard to predict, especially if there's no riparian habitat around. So, that makes these kind of mushrooms really valuable. And when you do find them, it's really exciting. And if you are a bit of a mycophile, or you just are an adventurer, you can hop in the car and drive over to the east side of the mountains, eastern Oregon, anywhere east on the Cascade Range. You're going to find Mortella snyderi just growing naturally in the forest, and that one is the one that I head out for with any predictability on the east side of the range. I would say that the riparian morels are probably done fruiting right now on the west side, so people are shifting their attention to the east side for the snyderi or to the forest fire burns, and that's going to be your best luck. But if you're trying to just go out into the neighborhood, you could watch the last video about morels, morels around town, the one that I put out, and we went into some habitats that a lot of times you can find landscape morels in, but just kind of hard to predict. And so you have to be familiar with the species in your region. So a good suggestion is to go on to iNaturalist. You can download the iNaturalist app on your phone, and then just look up your area, and you can search for different kinds of Morchella species. Morchella is the genus of morel mushrooms, and once you find an area where they have been known to be growing, those are good areas to start looking in. But again, it's going to take some experience, it's going to take some practice, it's going to take some knowledge to know when they're fruiting and when they're done fruiting. Like I said, it's a small window. So this is just a little bit of a clarification about morels in the area, what you can expect in the Pacific Northwest as far as reliably finding morels. Early season, riparian habitat. Later season, go look in the spruce and true fir forest of the east side of the Cascade Range, and forest fires. But there are so many variabilities there with public land, whether it's private or public, and moisture and temperature. So we definitely have the temperatures right now for morels to be growing, but moisture is hard to come by. If you're hoping to just go out, out somewhere nearby in Western Washington or Western Oregon to find morels right now, good luck. They're probably pretty slim pickings at this time. So hopefully we get some rain. I hope you can do a little rain dance, and maybe leave a comment and let us know where you're finding morels in your neighborhood or your neck of the woods, and then we can get a good gauge here on this channel, like a community. I love that. There's a lot of mycophiles out here, and we do like to share information, maybe not exact locations, but just general region and what we're finding out there, and let's help each other out. So thanks for joining this small little episode of Mushroom Wonderland, And I hope that you do get some morels. I'm planning in 2 weeks to head over to the east side of the Cascades. It's kind of a late year. Usually Mother's Day weekend, they start popping up over there. But I would wait a week or two and go find somewhere on the east side of the Cascade Range and look for those beautiful Morchella snyderi. And until the next episode, much love, everyone. Peace out.